The following is a presentation of TFNN. Time to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, Paige. Good.
Hi, Tom.
How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico Haan and Paige Clarke.
Good morning, I'm Nico Haan, and welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world.
To recover our natural health, our rights, and our freedoms. And I'm Paige Clarke. Good morning.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day here in downtown Clearwater, 75 degrees, going up to the mid-80s, and we're starting our summer pattern, I think, so the humidity's up a little bit, but it's pretty nice.
It's awful nice. It really is. And you know, guys, if you've had any questions or ideas for our show, please contact me at paige@tfnn.com.
And you can reach me at nico@tfnn.com, and we are taking your phone calls at 877-927-6648. So this weekend I was listening to some talks from the Leakey Foundation. They have a slew of really good talks, and I ran across this one called Catching Fire by Richard Wrangham.
Yeah, and you know, Nico, thanks for sending that to me. It was really fascinating. And just let me share a little thing, because many of you may or may not be aware of this work, but it's really important.
Yeah.
It's kind of at the central core of what we do. Mm-hmm. And just to give you a highlight, because I'd like you to expound on it,
okay.
This is really your area of expertise, you know. A lot of people talk about the structure of our teeth and the way our bone and our jaw structure is, and they use that as a cause for vegetarianism or for raw food diets. They suggest that we should forage and eat the way our long ago ancestors surely did. But for Richard Wrangham, this professor of biological anthropology at Harvard and the author of Catching Fire, he says, however, these facts and others demonstrate something quite different. He says these prove that, as he vividly puts it, we are the cooking apes, the creatures of the flame.
Yes.
This is fascinating work. This guy has quite a few brain cells. I mean, he's been educated at Oxford and all these Cambridge and Harvard.
His talks are really fascinating for sure. And, we often talk about, in fact, scientists have for years known that cooking really did one thing. It increased our brain size because it gave us more energy. The cooking process helps digest the food ahead of time, kind of like salt does, and kind of like what fermenting the food does for problems foods. Yeah, and he was talking about this, and I was very fascinated, and I agree with everything he said. And then all of a sudden, he drops the bombshell. When did this take place?
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, my theory had always been is Homo sapiens were the ones that were cooking, and before that, not so much, and probably happened by accident. Somebody, threw it in the fire or something like that, and they could all of a sudden smell the aroma. But DNA sequencing really helped in this picture, because as you're going back in time, you can actually tell when that brain size did happen, and now we know it happened about 1.9 million years ago.
Let's restate that. So what you're saying is that the research of Dr. Wrangham is showing is that Homo erectus, which is the kind of pre-human or pre-modern
It's the
human
ancestors that have the most evidence that was our nearest ancestor before Homo sapiens.
Similarity in a DNA sequence.
Right.
And it appears that 1.9 million years ago. Now we think about all the people who have different ideas of how long we've all been around. This really is rather shattering, that at that point there's evidence that not just Homo sapien, but Homo erectus, this pre-human, was cooking.
Yeah.
And was cooking, and that act of cooking may actually be part of the reason that we leaned out, our brain shell got bigger.
Yeah, and of course everything got changed because the small intestines got longer to adapt to the food, especially meat eating, because that's where that's digested. And then the colon got smaller, and that's where our plant food is digested. And we're able to do this because of the cooking. Exactly. But an interesting thing is he says that probably there's so many things that when you kill an animal, and this is specific to animals, some of it can't be transported. The blood really starts coagulating and things. So these are things that you could eat raw. Some of the organs you could eat raw. So because of the non-waste, the hunters would be eating more of the raw, and then the rest of it they would bring back. And the women, and he says specifically the women were in that role because of the hunter and the gatherer part. The women were probably the cooks most of the time. Not all the time. I'm sure men cooked too, but most of the time they did. And, you know, men, if they were on a long safari, certainly they'd be cooking on the way back if it took a couple of days, that type of thing. But, yeah, this kind of opened my eyes. Excuse me, but, you know, there were other benefits to our ancestors with the fire. The protection of fire, of course, is huge. It allowed them to sleep on the ground. Come out of the trees. Females likely began cooking for males whose time was increasingly free to search for more meat and honey. That makes a lot of sense, too. And that's kind of the way we were always brought up. And only recently, in the last few hundred years, has it really changed, especially in the last 50 years, where men do a lot of cooking now, too.
Yeah, here's some of his comments. You know, apes began to morph into humans, and the species Homo erectus emerged some 2 million years ago, as we discussed.
Right.
And he says that's the one fundamental reason is that we learned to tame the fire and heat our food. And it, you know, he highlights that cooked foods do many familiar things. It makes our food safer. We could still agree today in some ways. Creates rich and delicious taste, and it reduces the spoilage. Heating can allow us to open, cut, or mash tough foods. But none of these advantages is as important as the little appreciated aspect. Cooking increases the amount of energy our bodies obtain from food. So we could think of it as a food preparation technique.
Exactly.
Just like we talk about if you're going to eat grains, then you need to properly prepare them and ferment them. And, you know, this extra energy that we got from our foods has, for these first cooks, had other biological advantages. You know, they survived and reproduced better than before. Their genes spread, and the body adapted to these cooked foods, and we, shaped by natural selection, started taking advantage of this new diet of cooked food. So that's kind of an interesting thing when you look at our ancestors, the Homo erectus, and you look at that kind of the smaller brain, more squatty look we became. You know, the waist was tinier, the bones were larger.
Another interesting thing then, he cites many studies showing that a strict raw food diet cannot guarantee adequate energy supply, and notes that in one survey, 50% of the women on such a diet stopped menstruating. There's no way our human ancestors survived, much less reproduced on it. He seemed pleased to be able to report that raw diets make you urinate too often, causing back and hip problems. Also, many studies he talks about in the talk.
And that's not to say that raw food is bad. It's just that we get into these extremes, but this is making a lot of sense because you and I both really appreciate ancient Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine, and we know that in those societies, cooked food is a real important part of the diet.
Well, remember, fermentation is a kind of cooked food because all the heat that is
generated by the probiotics, breaking it down.
So it's an interesting study. It's for sure not 100%, but I think it's something to really look at. And if you're a raw food diet, of course, you're saying no, no, no. But again, why not do a little investigating on your own? I think it's important. Folks, we have a new Health Signals newsletter out right now. In fact, it's coming out this morning. And Tommy will be on that. Yeah, so take a look at that. And our number here is 877-927-6648. We'll be right back. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
And welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. I'm Paige Clarke with Nico Haan. Hey, Nico, we talk a lot about healthy fats.
Yep.
And how important healthy fats are. And what we really need to understand is wherever you are on the dietary spectrum, let's be aware that there are some real risks to the low-fat diet, and you need to know about them because it can really, impact your health. I mean, our fats are important for they're building blocks to our hormones, and our hormones are messengers that tell our body what to do.
Right.
And there's a lot of dietary risk in cutting fats. And true, we need to make sure we're getting the right kinds of fats in the right proportions, but we want to make sure we're eliminating those dangerous frankenfats.
Yeah, not all fats are created equally and not all affect the body in the same way. While processed and refined fats found in boxed foods in most restaurants can be harmful, or really are harmful, other types of natural fats are beneficial, life-extending properties. They have these, and we miss fats on our diet if we're a raw food person. We're missing fats because usually, even if you're doing sushi, you're doing less fat.
And what I see with a lot of my vegetarian clients or people that are seeking help from me is if they are in the vegetarian arena, they're often using a lot of nuts and seeds, which we have some great fats in those if they're done right, but we can get an overabundance of some of the polys.
Yes.
And polys tend to go rancid. people understand that when we heat these kind of fats, they can become rancid. Well, our bodies are 98.7, 6 degrees.
Yeah.
So, that comes back to you and I were talking during the break about one of our people that we follow is Ray Peat, and Ray Peat's argument, about the concern about polyunsaturated fats. We need more antioxidants to make sure that the free radicals from these bad fats.
It's always confusing to me when he mentions polyunsaturated fats. I right away go to the omega-3s, which are really good polyunsaturated fats. But he's really talking about the saturated or the polyunsaturated fats that are from the vegetable oils, grain oils, the seed oils.
And we need some of these omega-6s, some of the plant-based.
We certainly do. The 12s and 9s too.
I mean, we need the whole gamut, guys, and it's important to take a look at this. I like this quote. From Dr. David Pulmotor. He's the one who wrote the book Brain Maker and The Grain Brain and so forth.
Book.
Yeah, but listen to this. For the greater part of the past 2.6 million years, our ancestors' diet consisted of wild animals and seasonal fruits and vegetables, kind of what we were just talking about. Today, most people's diets are centered on grains and carbs. many of which contain gut-blasting, microbiome damaging glutens whose downstream effects reach the brain. Even setting aside the gluten factor, as we know, it's not always just the gluten, guys,
Right.
it's the spray that's put on these types of grains. One of the main reasons that consuming too many grains and carbs is so harmful is that they spike blood sugar in ways other foods, such as fats, meat, fish, poultry, and vegetables, do not. And when we talk about blood sugar, there is, again, we tie it back to hormonal balance. And we need to have, I call it hormonal harmony. And insulin is a hormone, just like our sex hormones. When we say hormones, so many people think we're just talking about their sex hormones. Hormones are the messengers that tell the enzymes and nutrition and everything to do work in the body. It's
The language
crucial.
of the body.
The language of the body. Great term, Nico.
So there are 7 risks that he lists here that are of low-fat diets.
And we
So-
see these in people often, repeatedly, when they follow a low-fat
and
diet.
I think this first one, the poor brain function, is all through our society. We see a lot of violence. We see a lot of people with ADD. We see a lot of autism. We see a lot of Parkinson's in later life. We see the loss of lots of different kind of brain functions. And of course, fat is the key.
Fat is the
brain.
building block for all hormones in our body, and cholesterol is important for brain function. It's how our brains function. And despite what you may think, hopefully you're learning that cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease. It's a vital nutrient and should actually be classified as a vital nutrient. Cholesterol is important for brain function, and low cholesterol is a adverse health signal worse than high cholesterol. We know now that the older you get, the higher your cholesterol, the longer you live, and less risk of death from all causes.
Yeah. Number 2 is you compromise your health, your
heart
health. And inflammation, which is the root of most diseases. This comes from a low-fat diet because the sugars, your refined carbs, and poor quality proteins, processed vegetable oils. Again, these are all the things that are inflammatory.
Much more so than the high-fat diet. We now know that it is really carbohydrate intolerance
Right.
that puts us at risk of cardiovascular disease.
Yeah, and if you have never taken omega-3s from fish oil or from krill, and you start taking that, you find all of a sudden there's a nice calming effect that takes place, and that's because the inflammation is lowered.
That's great. So, the key is getting the right kinds of fats to help benefit this. Number 3, we just mentioned it, hormonal imbalance, including the sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen. We know that when hormones are out of balance, it's hard. It's like we have like a 3-legged stool. We
Right.
need to balance all these features, nutrition, inflammation, hormonal imbalance. So in order, since fats are the building blocks of hormones, we can't possibly make the hormones that keep us young and sexy if we're not getting enough of the healthy fats.
That's right. Number 4 is weight gain and overeating. Looking at all the research is that when you lose the fat, then you become dissatisfied with the food, which makes you eat more. And also, if you're eating food that has less nutrition in it, then you're also going to have that thing, because nutrition is what drives the hunger.
Yeah, and here's some other hormones at play. It's because when you eat fats turn on your fat-burning switch by impacting hormones such as ghrelin. And these have a lot to do with your appetite and cravings and satiety.
Exactly right. Number 5 is a higher risk of insulin resistance and diabetes, and then of course we see this in our society. Everybody is heading towards those markers.
Well, and this is what concerns me. I have so many people come to see me and say, well, I went to see my doctor and everything's fine. I can look at the way their body is shaped and see that they're struggling with insulin and blood sugar levels, but they'll say, well, my blood sugar levels were fine. I say, well, what is fine? And, what the doctors have in the normal range and what's actually optimal are two different things. And folks, many times insulin resistance is not picked up by your blood glucose levels. Let me say that again. Insulin resistance is not picked up by your glucose levels. You can end up having for years, maybe even decades, your blood sugar levels in the normal range, but your insulin level is indicating trouble. Very few blood tests order the insulin level. Make sure your doctor is checking your insulin level.
Number 6 is high risk for depression and anxiety. Of course, fatty acids play an important role in higher brain functions and control mood, so eating enough healthy fat sources is one of the keys to an anti-depression diet.
Absolutely. As we just mentioned, our brain is made of fat.
Yeah.
So if we're eliminating fat, what are we giving it for building blocks?
Probably nothing.
Right. And let's get down to number 7, guys, gut-related problems. We know that higher fat, high fiber diets are now correlated with a healthier gut environment or microbiome. And a diet with plenty of naturally occurring fatty acids and nutrients supply these building blocks needed to nourish a healthy gut and therefore a healthy brain, because we know of the connection there. So, a diet that helps keep blood sugar balanced keeps gut bacteria balanced. That's a good way to think about it.
And the main fats we really need to obtain from our diet, it says here, are saturated fats. Those are the long and medium chain fatty acids. Monounsaturated fats, which are mostly your fruit oils.
Like olive oil.
And then your polyunsaturated fats, which come from fish, not the polyunsaturated fats that we talk about that are the vegetable or grain oils.
That's right.
Folks, we have a brand new Health Signals newsletter out there coming up today. We've got the biggest loser information and a lot of things we talked about the last couple of weeks, and some real fascinating things you need to know about. Please pick up Primal Edge, sitting right here on our page. And
we'll be right back after the break.
Yeah, 877-927-6648.
You've heard Nico Haan as co-host of Living a Primal Lifestyle, which airs every Friday at noon Eastern Time on TFNN, and would like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video giving you crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full-fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high-definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com.
Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows, and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Welcome back to the show, folks. Nico and Paige here, and we were talking about really
how important it is to eat fat.
Yeah, how to eat fat and how important cooking is. But there's a lot of people in here that have their gallbladders removed, and my sense of the whole thing was, well, you don't have your gallbladder because you haven't used it for years because you're on this low-fat diet. That's been kind of my thinking.
Or you ate so many bad fats that it's all sluggish and clogged up.
That's another thing too. But I like this article, and the reason I picked it out is because it gives you
I sent
lots
it to you.
Well, yeah, that's one reason too. But there's, we have trouble digesting fat, and we also have this dilemma here because we have many people that we really look up to, like Dr. Marshall, Petmature, all these doctors that are talking about more of a low-fat diet and incorporating some of those grains and everything like that, especially if you're over 40 years old. And that's a real important distinction that you made earlier to me, that these people are doing this to 40-year-olds and above. Imagine for 40 years you've been eating that low-fat diet, and now
the
your
low
body...
fat or the bad fat.
or the
That's
bad
the
fat.
real key.
That's right.
Well,
if you're eating low-fat, you're probably eating the bad fats because a lot of these things are diet oils.
Exactly, yeah. So
let me go through this scenario first of all. So for 40 years you've been not using your gallbladder much, and we'll talk about the gallbladder a little bit too. And now all of a sudden you're going on a high-fat diet. It's not going to work very well. You need to kind of readjust your system.
You need an oil change. That's what I call it. You need an oil change.
And one of the things you suggest always is that maybe you take a break from oils for a while.
We call it an oil change.
And how long do you do that?
Well,
maybe?
depending on if you're having, if you're having some health conditions, it's a sign that you need to sort of clean the tubes and lubes and, change things out. I really do like to help my clients do a period of an oil change where, believe it or not, as much as I love fat in the diet, I want to clear out the bad fats.
Yes.
I want to give these organs, these fat-digesting organs of the gallbladder and the liver, time to heal. And we're going to talk about why it's important. The gallbladder and the liver.
Here's a nice picture of the whole system here. This gallbladder is really, really small, and what's unique about that?
It's like a little storage sack.
It's a storage sack, but it stores it at about 20,000 times to 1 ratio, and that's why it's really important. Your liver can still make the, or where does it come from?
Well, listen, this is the interesting thing. When people get their gallbladder out, you see, again, I think it's a horrible surgery. It's just a sign that you needed to clean it out. Whether, I'm not so sure whether you're not using your gallbladder or you've overused it or it's just junked up from all these plastic fats, so to speak. When you remove the gallbladder, in Chinese medicine, the gallbladder, that has to do with the angry man syndrome. You still produce all that, bile and so forth.
But not at the same rate.
You no longer have that sac that's tied to your chronobiology, and that sac, the gallbladder, works all the time. It's part of our brain system that when we have fats, the gallbladder knows it's going to have to squirt it out with the meal to help emulsify.
It goes right
bile
down here.
emulsifies our fat. Think of like soap in a fat. You got a greasy dish.
It comes from the gallbladder, also from the liver, and it dumps it right into the small intestine where the meat, of course, all your animal food is digested there. Then it'll go on to the large intestines where, all your vegetable stuff is going through here, and then finally gets digested in.
If you have thick bile, then you do not, you don't have good bowel movements. Right. Bile is as crucial for us being able to emulsify our fat.
Yeah, so if this is removed here, you're still getting bile from your liver, but remember, it's not in that concentrated form.
And it's not synchronized with your, being able to come out. It just kind of dumps. That's why I always advise my clients that have had their gallbladders removed, unfortunately, to eat their highest fat meal between 10 and 2, because that is the chronobiology of the gallbladder.
Not first thing in the morning.
Right. It's not the best time. You're best suited to, and you always need to have gallbladder support in terms of something like ox bile. So let's go on a little bit about the importance of the gallbladder and the liver and what you and I were just talking about.
Okay, so here it says the gallbladder and the liver will get the signal to secrete bile in the small intestines from the stomach and the lining. And this is what I like to call the skin of the intestinal tract, which is really cool. If either of these feedback loops are disturbed, the bile flow from either the gallbladder or the liver can be disturbed.
Right. And as we just said, no gallbladder does not mean no bile. We still produce the bile, but the key is we need our bile to be healthy. We need it to do its function, which is to emulsify fats, and so we can absorb these nutrients.
So common symptoms are related to gallbladder concerns, and there's a lot of them. There's gas and bloating, indigestion, occasional heartburn, occasional constipation, looser stools, gray stools, yellow stools, headaches, blood sugar concerns, nausea, stomach discomfort, abdominal discomfort, chest discomfort, and breathing concerns. Wow.
Yeah. So what I want to say is I want to just make the point that as we start to introduce healthy fats, it may be that we actually need to give ourselves an oil change as we switch to, I like to, the algae DHA that you take?
Yes.
Okay, so we like to sort of eliminate all fats for a period of time except that healthy omega-3 from algae, and then reintroduce the healthy fats that we're constantly sharing on this show. And we need to support, particularly over 40, liver or gallbladder function, folks. We really do. These are organs that are very important. And if you need any help, I'll be glad to work with you in helping to kind of take, we take our cars for oil changes. We change the hoses and all this stuff and the filters. It's the liver is our filter.
Yeah.
And,
so if you're really changing to a higher fat diet, you're going more primal, so take it easy on the fat in the beginning. You'll start getting used to it if you're healthy, and if you're not healthy, you're going to get some squawking from your gallbladder, and that's a sign that just pull back a little bit.
Not a sign that you have to have it ripped out, though.
No,
I'm not saying, always listen to what your doctor has to say, but many times these pains that you get from your gallbladder, there's no way to age faster than to remove your fat emulsification, in my opinion. Yeah. So you want to try and keep your gallbladder, and if you do have stones and so forth or pain, it's a sign that you really do need to support those organs. So let's talk about ways to improve the bile and the health of the liver gallbladder. Number one is turmeric.
Yeah. And number 2 is fish oil. So those are 2 things that we always mention. But here are some others. A really good one, beets.
Beets, as you guys know, I always say beets beat the disease, and the beets are very important.
These are roots. They're not like potatoes, okay?
And rehydration, folks. Rehydration, making sure that you're getting your, we really like to start the day in our our feast and fasting mode, the fasting mode of some lemon. Lemon is very good for liver gallbladder function, so have some hot water with lemon in it, start your day.
We have, of course, fiber. We have to talk about apples. I notice people who have problems with fats like apples a lot. I don't have problems with fats. I don't eat apples too much, but this is one of the indications here because of the fiber content.
Well, apples are shown to increase the elimination of bile acids into the toilet, actually, and more effectively detoxify the body and forcing the liver to manufacture new, fresh bile. So the fiber, folks, when you're increasing your fiber in your diet, it forces the liver to manufacture fresh bile. So it's kind of like getting that oil change. Yeah. What are some good sources of fiber? Chia and flax. Remember, I don't want you to get them pre-ground. Grind them as you use them. Pumpkin, hemp, slippery elm. Love slippery elm for, to keep moisture and healing in the whole bowel. I love slippery elm.
And then things like lemons, you can put that in your water. You try to consume the juice of 1 lemon a day.
And here's one of our favorites is ghee. See, ghee, guys, is clarified butter, but would you in Ayurvedic, this is from John Douillard, by the way, it is actually ghee that is a great way to encourage bile flow.
Yeah, and you need to protect the intestinal skin, and that's just taking care of your gut.
Well, there you go. There's some helpful tips. We'll be right back. We have to take a break.
877-927-6648. You can reach us. You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, oil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to The Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
This segment is brought to you by TFNN. Test drive all the newsletters for free at TFNN.com.
Welcome back to the show, folks. Paige and Nico here. I want to remind everybody that my new newsletter is coming out later today. We also have a new exercise coming out, and it'll be here on the breaking news. Right now we have the lower leg, but later today it'll be the new exercise, and it's a nice exercise for your back. Very, very important.
It's right there on the front page, folks, so while you're trading, dive in and do it.
Yep. So I want to talk about the cholesterol myth. There's many really good books that point to this. The Great Cholesterol Myth, Cholesterol Clarity. We talked about the Big Fat Surprise before. And Nina, what's her last name? Teicholz was is a New Yorker. She's an investigator. She spent the last few years researching about why fat, dietary, the thing about dietary fat is wrong, that we need to eliminate this. And there's a lot of points that are brought up in these books, and I just want to go over these because this ties into the whole conversation.
I'm almost as passionate about this as I am about water fluoridation, because I live in a family that's had a history of heart disease.
Yes.
And, I struggle with family members and loved ones who continue to be misinformed, in my opinion, by their medical professionals who I believe are not staying current with the research. So anytime we can help shed some light on this important topic, Nico and I are going to do it.
And one of the things they mention here, we must be our own health advocate. We've got to take control of our own health and find out what works for you. And number one on this is cholesterol is required by almost every cell in our bodies. It is so vital we are able to manufacture it. Cholesterol is made by the liver, it's made by your liver, brain, and almost every cell in your body.
Actually, there's people that believe that it should be classified as an essential nutrient. I think maybe 50 years from now they'll look back at us and say...
Well, it is in a sense because fat, which...
Right.
And... Yeah.
Right, but I mean the actual cholesterol itself will be. So cholesterol is the structure which is the base of all of our sex hormones, our bile acids that we talked about, and vitamin D. We've shared with you that it's really the cholesterol sulfate that we manufacture vitamin D, which is actually a hormone and not a vitamin. So let's make sure people understand that.
Yeah, the cholesterol maintains the cell walls, allows cellular communication, and the transportation of substances like in the primal edge.
Right, so we've talked about that cell membrane potential, that ability of that bilipid, lipid meaning fat, membrane to be able to respond to let good stuff in and the bad stuff out. Yep. And it's it really is a poor predictor of heart disease. Half of those with heart disease have normal cholesterol levels, and half of those with high cholesterol levels have healthy hearts. So most heart attack victims have cholesterol within the normal range.
Yeah, it's also the carrier of cholesterol, which gives us a greater picture of your heart health. The concept of good cholesterol, HDL, and bad cholesterol, LDLs, are outdated. We need to look at our particle size patterns.
So if you folks are having your doctor just give you a total cholesterol number, that is absolutely worthless information. So, educate your doctor about, ordering the tests that actually give a window into what's going on with your essential nutrient of cholesterol.
Yeah.
So, you may have a higher cholesterol number, but when they actually look at the particle size, we hope to see that you have, if you're eliminating grains and sugars and introducing healthy fats and grass-fed animals, you're going to see good numbers.
So eating more good fat raises the level of the type A fluffy particles. Eating more sugar raises the type B angry little particles, which really cause the damage.
That's correct. And how do you get high levels of angry, sticky, heavy, dense LDL particles? Glycation. Ages, advanced glycation end products. So glycation is the combination of sugars and proteins. So this is insulin resistance causes the high blood pressure by narrowing artery walls and communicating with the kidneys to hold on to more water to dilute the high sugar levels in the bloodstream.
That's right.
It's something, let me just interject,
Yeah.
I know this is an important list, but folks, it's so amazing to me. It's almost as if people believe because sugar is so sweet that it must be sweet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
oh, sweet little sugar. Sugar is not sweet, folks, so let's go on.
Well, this brings up another point that I, during the talk, we were talking about first with the cooking part, is that we ate a lot of honey. And so do chimps and everything like that. Of course, honey goes straight to the liver. So it doesn't attack our body in the same way.
Right, we use it and we get all
Yeah.
those B vitamins and
Yeah,
so on. Of course,
and-
raw, unheated honey, no.
Yeah, and of course, honey was one of the things they probably ate right on the spot, didn't transport it unless they got a whole hive or something like that.
Right, so let's go to sugar causes high triglycerides, which is by far the biggest danger sign for heart disease. What is triglycerides? Fat particles in the blood, an indication of excess sugars. Lower your sugar, lower your insulin, lower triglycerides, and you lower your risk.
That's right, and cholesterol is not the only problem. It's when it's oxidized. Once it gets damaged, it sticks to the lining of the blood vessels of your arteries and starts the process of inflammation. Cholesterol cannot accumulate in the arteries without the inflammation.
You guys have heard me say it before. Do we blame the firefighters for the fire? They're always on the scene. But do we blame them? No, we don't. And that's the situation with cholesterol. Cholesterol is like the firefighter. You've already got the inflammation. You had excess sugars. You had sticky sugars. The cholesterol went there to repair. And here we are blaming the cholesterol.
Yeah, and inflammation is the true cause of our heart disease. And what causes that inflammation? Yeah, that's right. It's the high-carb diets, high insulin level, processed food, stress, smoking, and alcohol.
There you go. So low cholesterol, folks, is not healthy. Low cholesterol is linked with depression, aggression, Alzheimer's, suicides, just to name a few. Cholesterol is required to make your brain cells. It's a necessary building block of hormones and cell membranes. You need cholesterol for memory and cognitive function.
You also need it for fighting infections.
I just want to say this one
Yeah.
thing. Remember that book? I always refer people to the website spacedoc.org or .com. It's either .org or .com, but that's by the doctor, and I can't. It's about a former astronaut in MD who explains.
Sinatra?
No, it's not Sinatra, but he was the MD for the astronauts, and it's called. He wrote his book. It's called Lipitor, the Thief of Memory. He actually experienced that memory loss.
And they talk about omega-3 fats are the anti-inflammatory fats. The omega-6, of course, are inflammatory, but it's the balance that we get right. And when you talk about like a fish usually has that balance of 1 to 3, and we're talking about grass-fed beef. We're talking about that same balance, 1 to 1, 3 to 1 ratio. We're talking about cattle that are eating grains. Then you're talking 15 to 1, maybe 30 to 1. That's how much it increases.
Remember, we always want to take a look at what we're eating, but if we're eating animals, we want to make sure we're eating the animals, that we're eating healthy foods. And if we need to look at if we're eating plant foods, we need to look at how those have been processed. And finally, we're getting down here, but, I want people to understand that the results of statins have been severely exaggerated. Dr. David Brownstein has a fabulous new book out, I believe, right now. Can't remember the name of it. But he really goes into detail. He has a real passion for statistics, and he often trains medical students. And, just like we know, many medical doctors come out of school, and it's not what they learn, but what they unlearn.
Yeah.
And he indicates that many of them are misled by the drug company's sleight of hand on these statistics.
Yeah, and it says here that statins should never be prescribed for the elderly.
Most women and only in middle-aged men with a history of proven coronary disease is what the recommendation is. Dr. Steven Sinatra, as soon as he sees a woman on statins, he takes her off. So evidence shows the higher your cholesterol is, the longer you live.
Okay,
And the biggest side effect is memory loss.
Yeah, memory loss. Of course, muscle damage, diabetes, and loss of energy and low immunity. All those things go along with it. But
I mean, there's a lot of bad science that got us into the mess of believing that fats cause heart disease, folks, and it's inaccurate and it's flawed research. Do your research and enjoy healthy heart and good, healthy cholesterol levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a break. Give us a call, 877-927-6648.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of The Trader's Edge, heard daily at TFNN.com and author of Mastering Probability, a daily investment and trading newsletter service that I send out each morning by 8 a.m. My morning newsletter service covers exactly what the markets have been doing since last night's close, providing you with an edge on your trading day ahead. You get actionable trading ideas, including the exact entry, stop, and profit targets. Plus, I'll teach you the patterns and hidden market correlations that will make you a better trader. As a subscriber, you'll gain access to my 90-minute money management workshop, where I'll teach you the secrets that'll save your assets. The bottom line, I've got your back, including a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the type of analysis I provide each trading day by signing up for Mastering Probability today. With nothing to lose, this is an offer you should not pass on. Mastering Probability can be found under Trading Newsletters on the front page of TFNN.com.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you're listening to TFNN programming, you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, located in the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV. But if you don't have a connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and call-in talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Join John Logan as he teaches you trading techniques utilizing the TAS Profile Scanner. The Global Market Pulse, next on TFNN.
Hello and welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. Did you know that engaging in light exercise may actually protect your risk of developing osteoarthritis? And this came to us from ahealthblog.com. And according to research, individuals at risk of osteoporosis can delay the onset of osteoporosis or even prevent it with basic changes in their physical activity. And Nico, you and I have been sharing this with people for years, that many times the continuous stressful exercise can be more degenerative. And the study revealed that taking part in high impact activity like running more than 1 hour each day, at least 3 times per week, seems to be related to more degenerative cartilage and potentially health risk. Then again, participating in light exercise and staying away from activities that involve repeated knee bending could actually protect against the onset of osteoarthritis and still give us those benefits of bone building.
Yeah.
I like to talk about one thing, and then I want you to kind of, because you're the expert here, I've learned from my Qigong teacher, Jeff Primack, the power of just horse stance. Such a simple move. kind of like, you know what horse stance is from martial arts. But, you know, when we did our strength training thing with Jeff's group, we had to stand in horse stance for 2 hours, but it was such a gentle movement, and that weight-bearing exercise and that meditative state.
Well, it builds your core, too.
Yeah, it builds the core, builds those large muscle groups, gluteus maximus, the
we know
quadriceps.
that our ancestors walked 10 miles a day on the average. You know, that's what they're
and we
thinking.
walk a fraction of that, and the walking is so good, right?
I remember one year I was watching the Boston Marathon when I was really interested in doing that. And I was listening to Bill Rogers, who had won it, and he was talking, well, what's about health? You know, well, how much running do you need to do for health? He says probably like twice a week for 30 minutes is healthy. He says over that is not healthy. He says, yeah, but why are you doing it? He says, because I'm a nut. He says, I'm a running nut. He said that's why he runs, because it's
an addiction. They're addicted to those endorphins. But you and I always draw that picture for people. You know, close your eyes and picture a marathon runner and a sprinter. Sprinter, you know, being more of an example of someone who's practicing HIIT, high intensity training.
Well, he also looks like an athlete. Where you know, if you take the clothes off, then you really see the difference.
Yeah.
But, you know where he's a runner because of the body type, but also he's wearing running clothes most of the time. Sprinters may be a little bit different, but they certainly, if you look at a sprinter, you know he's not running a marathon most of the time. There's always the exception on that.
So, folks, sometimes the movements and intensities can be excessive and create more damage. Really, that's the takeaway point here.
Yeah, and one thing in women they talk about, too, is that women performing any amount of strength training, moderate to strenuous, was linked to higher water content and an increase in degeneration of the collagen architecture.
The collagen?
In the knee. Yeah, the collagen. So it indicates that moderate to strenuous exercise could accelerate the degeneration of the cartilage, especially in women who are more susceptible, I guess, for a risk.
So what is this article's suggestion is that individuals at risk can reduce their arthritis risk by keeping a healthy weight. Well, that's because really as we walk around, we're actually doing weight training, we're carrying our own weight, and avoiding strenuous exercise and risky moves and activities. Lower impact sports like swimming, walking, or using an elliptical trainer are more likely beneficial compared to high impact sports like tennis and running. Now, that's not to say that we can't do these, but, you know,
I look at
risk and reward. We have to weigh these things out, right?
I look at the exercise programs that people are doing are just the substitute for what we used to do, which was hunting and gathering.
Right, exactly.
You know, that's really what we're trying to replace. And also running from our predators or running after food. That's what our exercise program. We don't do this anymore. I wish we did, because I think we'd be a lot healthier and it'd be much more natural.
Hunting, chasing our prey, playing with our children on the ground, chasing
girls all over the place.
In the jungle.
In the jungle.
In the primal wild.
With our loincloth on, yes. Yeah, you'd look good in a loincloth.
That's it, folks. We got to go. Nico's getting wild. All right, so we'll have to see you next show. Take care. Stay healthy. Trade well.
Thanks for sticking around, folks. See you next time.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns, as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his opening call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the opening call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
You're watching Tiger TV.